I'd like to welcome today's guest, Point of Rental's web developer and future YouTube influencer, maybe current YouTube influencer, I'm not sure, Scott Plomer. Scott?
Yeah. I'd like to say I'm a current influencer.
Okay.
Let's go with that. Or what do we agree on? Brand ambassador.
Okay, that's why you have the shirt today.
Yeah, it sounds a little political though. Ambassador, isn't that like a whole thing?
That's true. Does that mean you have diplomatic immunity? Maybe.
Yeah. So next time when we go to Australia, because we're definitely doing the Australia trip, then maybe I get like free breakfasts or something like that. I don't really know how that works.
I'm sure that's the rule.
Welcome to the Front Porch with Brian Beaudry.
All right. Well, welcome to the porch. Let's start with the basics. Who are you? Where are you from? And we're not going to tell people to like and subscribe to this, are we?
I mean, we should. Hey, like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell. It helps. Write down in your comments what your favorite question was. What's your favorite moment of this video? Camera 2.
I was going to say, that's the one that's looking at you.
Well, hey, obviously my name is Scott Plomer. I'm the web developer here at Point of Rental. I've been working here for almost 2.5 years, maybe over 2.5 years now. I'm originally from Houston, Texas, Katy in particular, West Side. And before this, I was living in College Station for about 8 years. I graduated from Texas A&M with a telecommunications degree, class of 16, and then I worked in College Station for about 4 years after that, doing mostly like electrical construction work, that sort of thing.
I was going to say, don't spoil it all. We gotta go. The next
I
section
know.
is
Well,
like
Ian,
a little bit of your history.
Okay, fine.
But I appreciate that you gave us a little bit more of who you are instead of just your name, like so many of our guests do.
Hey, my name's Scott.
Yeah, it made it a little awkward. Usually.
No, I feel like I missed out. I could have done like Scott, the Texas A&M. And that probably would have been a better one.
Ooh, yeah, it's a good classic football intro.
Yeah,
All right.
I can miss the opportunity there.
Yep. Well, you mentioned a little bit about your history. So what did you want to be when you were a kid, whenever you first remember having that answer to like every adult asks, like, what do you want to be when you grow up?
I think it was a firefighter, but this is probably when I was about knee high, and I think it was either that or like policeman was like the only two jobs you're allowed to think about.
Those are very commonly broadcast to children, yes.
Which probably nowadays is like TikTok star, but yeah, so which is kind of ironic that I eventually became on the other end of that. And then the more real question that I had like throughout high school was like engineer, until I realized I'd have to do math all the time, and I thought that was kind of lame.
Okay. So when did you decide not to fight fires, or did you have a firefighting incident as like a middle schooler that you were like, no, I should do engineering?
Yeah, I never actually told you about my traumatic fire accident that scarred me for life. But it was probably just because I had like a toy fire truck and I thought that was cool. So then, hey, Scott, what do you want to be? And I said fireman, so I could drive a cool truck around, which I think is probably should be about the number 1 or 2 reason to have a particular job is because of the truck.
I was going to say, it is a pretty cool truck. Yeah. Definitely, you can carry around all your friends on it.
Oh, yeah. So. You just turn the sirens on. You don't have to worry about traffic. I mean, the commute is just a breeze.
All right. So you had a few years in between graduating in 2016 and getting here, and you mentioned some construction type stuff. What are some of your career highlights as far as what you've done since your first job?
Oh,
before getting here, though.
Highlights. Well, I mean, there's definitely some bright moments. One of my favorite times is back in the day. I used to install just about every smart board you can think of in the Katy ISD like school district, like down in Houston. And I don't know if it's considered like a highlight, as in like, wow, how good you are, but more of it was a lot of fun working nights, and then at like 2:00 in the morning coming back to the hotel to, drink beverages and hang out in the hot tub till 6:00 in the morning. But that's in terms of like accomplishments. Definitely, the career I had right before this, I was in name essentially the director of fire alarms and extinguishing. So it's pretty much as high as you can go until you actually get like the certifications to actually draw up the plans, like closer to real engineering work. But in terms of being like a real field technician to being on the front lines of being that sort of salesperson, kind of coordinating, the entire process of the inspection, of meeting with clients to tell them, hey, this is why you should go with us for us to install your system. This is why you should go for us to fix it, and these sorts of things. And, kind of taking the initiative and pulling the triggers on opportunity when they kind of presented themselves to me, and just kind of, especially when you like first get into the workforce, like really right after college, you don't really know, like it's a little different. Even if you worked through college, right? Like you're still kind of splitting priorities, and you're like, oh, I'm getting this degree to get that, and these sorts of things. But it's, not really knowing. It's like, what is Scott, the person who works, like, versus Scott, the guy who mostly works on school or does a little hobbies. And it was just nice to know that having the ability to kind of take the initiative is something that I was happy about, and I'm still proud about to this day.
Yeah, I like that you combined your like childhood fireman wanting to be and your high school engineer wanting to be, and you're like, what's exactly in between these things? Ooh, director of Extinguishing.
How did I never put that together? That's actually kind of crazy, but yeah, it sort of ended up in that sort of way.
So it seems like you're living your goals as a kid. So why are you now a web developer / YouTube star? Because that seems like probably not the thing that you were planning on being as a kid.
Yeah, so it is definitely a career pivot, and I don't think there is really any similarities between the two. Though you can program fire alarm panels. I was pretty good at that. Did you know that? You can.
And like also, when you're at work, you're putting out fires all day, and then you.
Yeah, and they're a lot easier than literal fires, which is a little more high stress. Kind of like a sort of like hey, we should probably hurry up and do this right now, rather than like I'll get to it by the end of the day.
Yeah, you don't do I'll get that fire later.
Well, sometimes the finger guns do put out the fire. No, so it was just kind of a random thing. So like I turned 25, and I was just like reflecting, as one does on a sort of birthday that ends in a sort of easy number like 25, and I was just like, what I'm doing right now is fine, but like, is this what I really like? Is this what like is actually super fulfilling to me? And what I sort of just had a whole little meditative process, I guess. I don't know. I can make it sound like a super, like I went up into the mountains and I meditated with the monks, and I found my true self. Birthday. Yeah, but it was more like I drank too much on my birthday, and then when I was laying in bed, dizzy as all get up, I was just thinking, what's really cool is like creating things. And I've always been fairly artistic. Like I did jazz band in high school. I've always done art and drew, and even just like writing, which is something that I wasn't necessarily that great at. I definitely kind of honed those skills a lot more back in college, because I was writing a whole bunch of different essays and things like that.
Yeah, college be like that sometimes.
Yeah, college. You do. Fun fact, spoiler alert: you do have to write essays in college. They don't warn you about that one in high school. And I've always been interested in coding. I thought it was kind of interesting. I had a lot of computer science friends at the time too, so I would kind of bounce ideas and see like, hey, I think these sorts of things are interesting. Do you think I could fulfill that, go in this direction? And they kind of gave me the thumbs up. And after about a year or so of studying, and then YOLO moving up to Dallas Fort Worth, because that's where all the Indeed job postings were, I was like, this Plano and Irving and Arlington area seems to be a bit of a tech hub. I've never been there before, so we just kind of moved up, and the rest is history.
I think the 20s is a good time to do that.
Yeah. Easier than 65 to do the whole career pivot. They probably just tell you to retire and go home, but teach their own.
I do like the idea of you talking with a bunch of your friends at like age 65 that have been doing totally different careers. You're like, do you think I can do this thing that you've been doing the last 40 years?
I'm like, well, job market's
go for it.
Something like that.
So what is your favorite part about what you're doing here at Point of Rental?
Gotcha. I mean, there's honestly a lot. This is the longest I've had like the same job too. So I mean, I know
me too here.
that might not mean much to everyone, but it means a lot to me. And I think one of the key things that keeps me here is that there's a lot of sort of variance to my job. I like that there's a lot of different ways that I get to sort of express and create. Everything from, just making the landing pages to even just like helping out with the salespeople and to literally this right here, what we're doing. Like, this isn't like something I would ever have thought that I would be like, oh yeah, I'm recording a podcast at work, but it's just like getting the opportunity to elevate, specific projects or give and empower other people to also, if they want to create, if they want to kind of express however they want to express themselves, for work and for life and for anything. It's like, this has been like, it's been amazing. There's so many different opportunities to kind of, I'm not just doing the same mundane task over and over again. It's great. I love the variance.
Good, because I apologize. I wasn't trying to laugh at you earlier. I was picturing you trying to be creative in setting up a fire extinguishing plan. You're like, you know what? What if we had silly snakes that bounce out? The sprinklers.
Yeah, it would probably make it a lot funnier for when someone's some teenager stove catches on fire and they grab it, and instead it's just a bunch of silly string, and it could lighten the mood. They could be like, my kitchen's on fire, but that was pretty good. So I mean, I could see that. Maybe I'll have to go back to my old connections and see if they're open to.
I was going to say, I'm not sure that the insurance companies or anyone else would like this creativity coming from you. So I'm glad you found somewhere where the coming up with new ideas.
Yeah, when you're not, you don't have a textbook about this big on all the things you have to do, or you get arrested is definitely an easier. It's more open. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's hope you continue to not get arrested here. And we have a book. We just haven't given it to you.
Oh, well, 2.5 years and counting, so we'll see.
Good. So how has life changed for you since becoming a YouTube star? You started doing a couple of our YouTube videos recently. I give you credit as the person who said, you know what, if we're going to do YouTube and do these videos, maybe we should make a little effort. So we have this nice background.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And we put a little more effort into our studios. We have a pretty little skirt on this table now instead of the nothing that was there before. So how'd you get into this, and what are you looking forward to doing with your YouTube stuff?
Well, definitely the thing that kind of ignited it for me is when we were kind of, at the beginning of this year, we had Jonathan Ingram's 5-year anniversary. And I just remember talking to him a while ago, when, this is maybe a few months ago. And he's like, yeah, and it's like a big deal for me. And, it's definitely like a huge milestone. I've never worked anywhere for 5 years. I can literally not imagine being at the same place. I was like, wow, that seems like a big deal. And obviously there's so many people in the company who've been here for 10, 15, 20, 35, they're almost their whole life sort of thing. And I just thought it was a nice opportunity to kind of give it a little of a facelift and kind of elevate and this to me, I was like, I think this is kind of a big deal. Like, this should be like a big celebration, and not to say that the current iteration was bad in any way, but it just felt like a good opportunity to kind of make it a little more grandiose, to maybe express some more of our gratitude. I mean, hey, listen, you've worked for us for 5 years and over 5 years, and we're hoping for 5 more. And it's, this is the least we can do is to, maybe kind of put you on a pedestal and just kind of say hey, we appreciate you. We're going to make this whole, content around you, and, just kind of go from there. And then obviously it worked out. I think the interviews have been a lot of fun, and I think we're planning on doing it for all the other ones for the 10 years and 15 years and 20 years. And
we're back to your every 5 years.
50 years. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Got to reevaluate what you're doing, honestly.
Every year that is divisible by 5. And, kind of getting the sort of architecture and everything, the foundation's here for this. What does this allow us to do for other things? So you've been doing Front Porch for, a good number of years as well. And it's this is another really cool project. We have the infrastructure here. Why don't we just, with an extra camera or 2, maybe this can really elevate it. Now it's potentially more customer facing. It's a little more professional. It gives us the opportunity to kind of post it all over the place. And YouTube for me is something that I've always had interested in. That was AC. It scared me. I was like, did someone close the door? No, but YouTube is something that I've always had an interest in and a passion in. Even back in high school, I was doing cool Pokemon Let's Plays before they were called Let's Plays, and the idea of making a career on YouTube was ridiculous, but you just kind of get into a community, and it's just fun to make stuff and talk about stuff and interact with people on this way cool thing called the internet.
I was going to say, back when I was in high school, we didn't really have that kind of internet. I was recording my Let's Plays. I had a VHS TV combination thing, and I remember trying to catch the game cheating because I was doing like a Need for Speed type thing, and I swore like right before the finish line, this car popped up out of nowhere. It was not on the track and just made me wreck. And it's like I was in first place
the whole time,
and then I caught it on tape. I was like.
And then you sent it back to EA or whoever and be like, excuse me, you may notice that.
And it was a VHS and I couldn't share it with anyone. I was like, man, if only I had some type of internet and other video recording device where I could share this.
Yeah. I mean, this is the era like right before, or I guess right after AOL. So, I mean, like instant messaging and these sorts of things was definitely like popular. But that was like right when the boom of like, okay, now you can actually kind of like make a more legitimate like community and actually have your face and do video and these sorts of things. There wasn't a platform like that. So at the time I can't even really tell you how I got started into it, probably just because I was watching YouTube and I thought, hey, that was cool. I think this is fun. Anyone can do it and everyone can do it. So I did that for a long time and I really liked it. And then obviously I went to college. I had other priorities, but I've always made little things here and there and like live streamed with my friends. I just really like the sort of dynamic. So seeing the opportunity to also use it in a, really good productive way of kind of updating our YouTube channel itself, making content for that. And it's like, we're just killing two birds with one stone. This is fantastic.
All right. Before we get into your non-professional life, I want to play a game with you called Scott or Not. So if you agree with the statement or if it's true, say Scott.
Okay.
And if you disagree, obviously you would say not.
Okay.
And then I'm going to need a reason for each of these answers. So
I have to show my work. Got it.
Yeah. Scott or Not, you've hidden snacks so that no one else will find them and that you can eat them later.
That sounds like a very Scott thing, but I'm going to have to say not because most of my hidden snacks, most other people also get to them. They're not very well hidden, but they're hidden to some people, but not to everyone.
Okay. I'll technically allow that, I guess.
Okay.
Scott or Not, if you could find out you were going to die or how you were going to die, I guess everyone's probably going to die at some point. If you could find out how you were going to die, you would want to know. Okay. I'm not threatening you, just to be clear.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's definitely a not. My biggest worry is like, what if I die doing something that I'm really enjoying right now? And then I'm just like, oh, well, now I can't be on the, what do I do? Like go work out or somebody's like, oh yeah, you're going to get crushed by a dumbbell. I'm like, well, now I can't go to the gym anymore. I'm probably going to.
Yeah.
It's like, you're going to get hit by a golf ball. And I'm like, oh, well, now I guess I find another hobby.
Yeah. Virtual golf.
Yeah. Into Frisbee or something.
Oh, there you go. And then, of course, you get hit by a golf
ball
on the Frisbee. Come on.
Frisbee golf. Curses.
All right. Scott or Not, you've said unironically to someone else, when I was your age.
Scott, I probably did that today. I'm like 28. I'm practically, kids these days, am I right?
There are a lot of whippersnappers around the office.
Oh, yeah. When they're like, oh, yeah, I was born in 2000, and I just feel like more wrinkles just appear upon my face instantaneously.
Yep. Yeah, I would say use the Saving Private Ryan meme, but Saving Private Ryan was pre-2000 because I remember watching that in high school. So yeah, Scott or Not, you prefer working from home to working at the office?
So right now it's Scott. I definitely have sort of like, well, I'll just call it like mood swings on. I'm like, sometimes I really enjoy, the atmosphere. I like my setup over in marketing, and it's nice to get out of the apartment every once in a while. But I definitely feel like I go in like, for a month I like to work from home, and then for a month I like to really come into the office. Having that freedom is really great. So right now, I don't remember which one it was, but it's Scott to working from home.
Yeah, that
is it.
Scott
okay.
would be the correct answer there
Scott,
for that statement.
The right answer.
Say,
to most
at
things.
least I have this written down in front of me so I can help myself here.
Yeah.
Scott or Not, you've lied about having seen a movie.
Oh, Scott, I do that all the time. I almost never see a movie, but when someone's like, oh yeah, no, I was doing this thing, you're like, oh yeah, no, I saw that, just so you can like keep the conversation going. Yeah.
You don't want to have a discussion about like,
And they're like, "Oh, you haven't seen this," and you have to be like, "Oh, no, I just haven't. I just don't want." And like,
then they try to convince you to see it.
yeah,
and it's
because I don't
but
really go to
I'm
the
not going
theaters
to.
anymore, or and then it's on streaming. And I can't keep like I watch like one show a year because I'm like, oh, I want to watch it.
Ooh,
but I
you're the one
can't.
they're advertising to, and they're like, if you only watch one movie this year.
Yeah, no, that's literally me. Which this year is probably just the Last of Us show. I don't think there's anything else I'm going to be. Well, I just can't get a. I don't know.
Ooh, is The Last of Us going to be the last show you watch too?
That would be a bit sad.
All right, well, let's go into the commercial break.
I wish I was somewhere warm. Wow, where am I?
You're at Point of Rentals International Conference in Fort Worth, Texas.
This place is amazing.
You too can enjoy Point of Rentals International Conference this October. Register today at conference.pointofrental.com to reserve your space for extended software education, one-on-one learning, industry networking, great food, and fun. That's conference.pointofrental.com. See you there. Now it's time to get to your interesting, or perhaps hopefully interesting, non-work questions.
Okay.
So you mentioned golf earlier, as it seemed like a thing that you were into. So how'd you pick up golf?
Yeah, I feel like it's almost like a rite of passage that every kid has to like play golf at some point. It's just like something your dad just kind of like is like play. It's kind of like the chess of activities. It's like everyone's just like, oh, you played chess with your dad or something like that. So it's just like my dad played, and he's like, hey Scott, you're like 6 years old. You're gonna go play golf, and you're a kid. You're like, okay, sure, sounds good. So, and just in that voice too. But I probably played up until about high school or so, and then again with college, just other priorities happen, so you just kind of drop it. And
So you weren't going to be on the tour? Or
oh no, definitely not. I was on JV, so it was bad. But anyway, I think it was once I kind of moved up into here and I got an office job. For some reason, I got a craving to like be outside for some reason. And
maybe it's all the green too around here.
Yeah, maybe it's like subliminal messaging.
Yeah.
That explains a few things.
And the hexagons kind of seem like the little dimples on some golf balls.
Oh my gosh, it's all been connected. So it's just like, well, I have these clubs, and I was just like, well, we do like live right next to a golf course, and there's a whole bunch over here, and I just kind of was like, all right, I'll just go to the range just to do some cardio. Like, why not? Like, let's go outside, and then just lo and behold, and I was like, this is kind of a fun way to spend the afternoon. Oh, this is a nice way to spend the day. And I just kind of been getting into it ever since, and just trying to like play at least like twice a week or so. And, it just feels good to like be outside, and when you can here in Texas, and just have
I was going to say, it doesn't feel good to be outside a lot of the time in summer, especially.
Have like an activity that's a little like, it's not like jogging or running or like weightlifting. It's just like, you're just really swinging a club around. So it's like you get going, and you feel, like you actually like did something for like 4 hours, but it's definitely easier to recover from, and you can.
I feel like golf's a good happy medium. Like, you're in nature, but you're not like that in nature. Yeah. And you're exercising, but you're not that exercising.
Yeah, there's not many sports where you're allowed to also drink at the same time too.
And drive.
Oh, well, okay.
Don't drink and drive, kids.
I mean, to be fair, if you're up on the tees and you kind of have one of those like drinking hats, so you can drink and drive at the same time, that would be pretty impressive.
Yeah. All right. So, who is your ideal foursome? I think that's a question you have to ask all golfers.
Gotcha, for golf. So, I'm going to cheat. There is a.
Are you kicking yourself out of your foursome?
No,
Okay.
no. So there is a YouTube channel called Bob Does Sports, and there's 3 of them on the actual channel, and obviously they do golf on YouTube, but they have the same sort of vibe that I typically am on the golf course, where it's like, I try really hard, but I'm not a try hard, like I'm not competitive, but I'm definitely going to give it my best go. And I can't guarantee it's going to be great every shot, but it's like, I'm outside, the course is nice. I'm here with my friends. Like, what's the worst that can happen? And they have the exact same sort of energy. They're like not all that great, especially for like YouTube golf where everyone's trying to be professional and a scratch golfer and like I'm going to go pro, and they're just kind of hanging out, enjoying themselves. And I'm like, this is the type of energy. And then I would get to meet them, so that'd be pretty cool.
And you probably get to be on like an episode, I feel like, if you're...
Oh, true. I mean, we would definitely get the point rental crossover. I mean, especially if we get a Callaway sponsorship. I mean, then it's like, it's practically locked in.
Oh, there we go.
Mm-hmm.
Turn it into money-making
I
opportunity.
was gonna say, could you rent golf balls? I feel like the insurance would be really high on those, depending on who
golf
you...
ball is probably a bad idea.
Yeah.
Golf clubs, though, they do rent. I mean, golf carts.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Future sponsorship incoming.
Any competitors you didn't hear? Okay, now who's one person that if you found out that a person in your foursome called out sick, so one of those three guys is like, nah, I can't make it, man, and you saw that they're going to join, you'd say, man, I just remembered I have a thing that day. I'm sorry, guys, I can't go.
Oh, so who I would not want to play golf. Oh, so who do I want to make enemies with where I was like, oh, no.
Who maybe didn't know they were your enemy, and now you're just going to tell them?
Oh boy, I don't know. Probably just some random person in politics. They probably play golf. They would probably join last minute, and I'd probably be like, "Nah, I'm good." Yeah, I will not name names, but it'll probably be almost any of them. But
okay,
I don't know.
Right. Way to take the easy way out there, Scott.
A very professional answer.
All right, so say you get a free pass to any golf course, an invitation, whatever it takes to get you in the doors, because obviously some golf courses are fancier than others. Some are public, some are private. Mm-hmm. What course do you choose to go to, and why?
Okay, I mean this might be punting it a bit, which I guess I should say this might be putting it a bit, but I mean the Masters just happened. Going to Augusta
say, I feel
would
like that
be
was a
the easiest decision. I mean, to be fair, there's also this chance of like, well, should I maybe not go to like one of these like 4 major courses? Because if I go to play, I'm going to see every bit of the course and probably get side-eyed by any other person that's there. But it would be, I mean...
You're not there during a tournament, at least. Like,
yeah,
there's no
you'd get there
anything.
like right before or right after, so you just get like the crumbs. And it would, if you go right after, there may be some people be like, oh, who's this guy? Maybe I should like sit and wait. You can just watch him for free. We just paid like $10,000 to watch on Sunday. I mean, you just see the Monday guy. He's not bad. He's pretty entertaining. He jokes around a lot. So, I mean, his jokes are funny.
And maybe some of the pros like accidentally left their stuff on the course or something.
True. Get some free souvenirs. Just go swimming in the pond, like try to grab and like, oh, well, this is the golf ball that John Daly.
Maybe their caddy forgot one of their pitching wedges by the green or something.
Ooh, there you go. Okay. Yeah. So that would be my answer. It would be the Masters right after the Masters.
All right. What's the best general advice you'd give someone learning the game? Don't make your answer specific to me just because I'm asking and you've seen me golf.
No,
also do.
Okay, well, definitely. I mean, there's so much to the game of golf, and something that I've been focusing on recently is more of the mental way of playing it, less of just like, oh, you shouldn't care about X, Y, and Z, because I feel like we're unfortunately fairly emotional creatures, and it's easy to get upset at either the game or your club or yourself or the weather, but rather how to sort of, if you have a particular goal, say like break 100, I want to make X amount of pars, and how you can compartmentalize.
It's too many syllables.
Compartmentalized.
Yeah, just compartmentalize.
How you can make it into an array of options instead. So, being like, well, if my goal is to just beat 100, then that's like, well, you can technically bogey half of the holes and double bogey the rest of the half. And then when you have it in that sort of mind frame, and it's like, okay, well then instead of trying to get on the green in like 2, then it's like, well, this is a harder course or this is a harder hole. So instead I can try to get there in 4. And even just recently, I played a while ago, just like last weekend, understanding it's like, well, at the end of the day, I'm kind of like a bogey golfer. So if like I've just missed the green, it's like, well, that's okay. You just chip and 2-putt, and then you go from there, and you're going to keep reaching your goal, and eventually you're going to have one go in. But instead of being frustrated or just being like, oh, I need to make sure I'm 170 yards away, but I have to be on the green because I have to have a birdie putt because I have to make par. And it's like, no, like it's okay if it's a little left, it's a little right. maybe you see you're absolutely dead if you go too far. So you just choose one club less, you hit it over there, you chip, you two putt, you get your bogey, and you move on. And kind of understanding that you can kind of put your goals in that sort of mind frame kind of makes it a lot easier rather than being like, this is a par 5. I have to reach it in 2. I have to reach it in 3. And just understanding like, listen, if you're just trying to reach this goal, reach your goal. Like you don't need to don't get upset about these stuff that isn't like you're overachieving. Just like, let's start at this and then we'll go from there.
I'd say that's a good general outlook on things. Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
I can't
take
breathe.
it.
I'm getting choked up over here.
I know I'm quite the orator.
But yeah, I used to play pool after school with some of my friends, and they would always say like, if you can't make it so you can make it.
Whoa,
And that's what we do. Like
that's pretty.
Sometimes
deep.
you can't make a good shot, but you can set yourself up for the next time.
There you go. I like that.
All right, so what's up with your various cats and or other anime references that it's like, I know that's from a thing, but also I don't know what that thing is. So tell me a little bit about those things that you wear at work and why.
Well, definitely the most prolific thing I'll wear is representing a little thing called Pusheen, which, believe it or not, is actually created in Canada. So it's more of like, but I just like
anime.
Yeah, but it's more of just like, well, it's a cute round cat, and I'm like, I mean, I like cats. I like little round things. They're just cute.
That's fair.
Maybe it's because I played too much Pokemon or something. So I'm just like, oh, it's round, therefore I like it. But it's just like, I don't know. It's there's nothing to explain. I just like cute things, and thankfully my girlfriend is in the same wavelength, so she'll buy like really cute like lunch boxes, and she's like, "Oh, I got you a sweater," and you're like, "Oh my gosh, it's got a cute cat on it." Yes, I love this, which may not exactly be my like the vibe I give out, but I definitely, and when I eventually get a cat and some pets at home, I'm definitely going to go for the.
I was gonna say you're gonna make it round, or you're just gonna like overfeed it.
Well, no, I'll just get a fluffy one. That's usually the way to. That's a lot easier rather than having to overfeed.
Healthier
it.
way to do this.
Yeah. Let's not overfeed cats. That's not healthy. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just like cute things. I don't know what to say.
Well, hey, that's a good thing to go for. I think I've always like kind of liked how if you're the person in the office who's known for like liking a specific thing, then people will be like, "Oh, I saw this thing and thought of you," and then they'll give you a bunch of those things. So put out there that you like cute things.
Yeah, I know. It's great. It's great.
All right, cool. Well, hopefully you get more various cute round cats
or just gifts in general. I also gift cards are fine. I mean, cash.
I'll get my own.
Yeah, I'll just it's like Christmas. I'll buy them myself. It's not.
Okay. All right, so I know you got involved in fantasy football this year, and that you seem to be more interested in it than I ever have been, or most people that I know have been.
Yes.
So what is it you like about fantasy football?
Well, it's a lot of things. One, it's my addictive personality. Not that my personality is addictive, but that me personally gets addicted to things. So I just kind of got obsessed with it, and as forementioned, I am definitely someone who tries very hard. Whether or not that's exactly the vibe or the mood, I just can't help but just really get into something. So, of course, when we first started, I was like, oh, it seems fun. Like, I've never done one before. Why not? And then I watched a podcast, and then I started looking at YouTube, and then I started giving up like 15 million trades every week, which is, a nice badge of honor. That trophy is on my trophy, my trophy case.
Yeah, you also started throwing out like nicknames for players that it's like, I've never heard this thing.
I'm just bad with, it's because there's some players where it's like, oh no, you say their first name. I didn't know. I was just like, oh yeah, John. And you're like,
I wasn't sure if you were I'm not sure if those were things from popular podcasts because I don't actually listen to them, or if you were just making up the nicknames.
It was probably about a 50-50 clip to tell you the truth. But
so future game is, did Scott make this nickname up, or is it their actual nickname?
Yeah, maybe something for the podcast. But and it's in football is obviously like, listen, I lived in Texas pretty much my whole life. Texas, football is a very that's probably the number 3 thing in Texas.
I heard A&M likes football as well.
Yeah. I mean, I went to a few A&M games, but even in like high school, it was like a huge deal. And obviously, I mean, it's not that Houston has a great football team, but I grew up in like a sports family, so a lot of them were like really into it. So I've always like saw football like in my whole life, but I never really like knew any of the players or like, in Madden you can choose all the different like defenses and like positions, and you're like, oh yeah, you're in dime quarterback gun, and I'm just like, why gun? Like that doesn't sound nice at all. And it was just one of these things is like once you dive into it and you learn more about the actual players themselves and more of like the history, and there's so much more drama that you would just not know unless you really get into the weeds. And as someone who just listens to podcasts almost 24/7 on just random things, it was just like, I just absorbed as much knowledge as possible, and I had a lot of fun doing it. And I'm excited to do it again here in a couple of months, and we'll see how that goes.
All right. Well, good. I have on here that I asked the question about podcasts earlier, but I clearly didn't do that. So, I hear that you had a little bit of interest in doing some type of fantasy football podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Let's brainstorm a list of podcasts that we should do. I like top 5 lists. So if you have 5, that would be great.
Okay. So can one of my top 5s be a podcast about top 5s? Can that be my number 1? I think there's a lot of good things we could do there.
I mean, the rule of top 5s is you start at number 5 and then you go up to number 1, because no one, like, once you've spoiled number 1. Like,
okay. Well, then number 2 can be the top 5 ways of breaking top 5s.
Okay, I don't know if that one's going to go real well.
Yeah, we probably wouldn't have that much content for it. But I do think like a music podcast would be really cool. I think there's a lot. This isn't, Dallas isn't Austin, but I think there's a lot of cool stuff out there. And definitely, I mean, that sounds maybe more of like a TMZ-esque of, what did Taylor Swift do? But I think there's a lot of really cool music out there and like infinite amount of genres. And as someone who's been playing music for, for probably like 15 years, like I could talk about music for hours. So it was a lot of fun. Fun fact, I was on the radio back in college. Did you know that?
I did not.
Yeah, I did radio for like 2 or 3 years back at A&M.
You were a radio host?
I had
playing songs.
Well, it was like a playing songs, but kind of both. I had the like late night Saturday night slot. I had the 10 to 12. Where FCC...
That's the slot where they just say, Dad, just do whatever you want.
Yeah, you can pretty much. And it was a lot of fun. But so like I don't think there's so many different bands and genres. It's impossible to like be in tune with the music scene because it's literally impossible. Yeah. Be like being in tune with all of sport, right? And he's like, well, maybe of like one team or one type.
Every sport all around the world, every level. Let me tell you about this 6th grade rugby team in Australia.
Yeah. Okay. And then, so I think music would be fun. Going off of random 6th grade rugby, what if it was just like a weird sports podcast? Like, obviously, we can have fantasy football because we have a fantasy football team here, but like, let me tell you about why this random sport you've never heard of is actually the most fun thing you ever heard of. Like, hey, I just learned about pickleball, which is probably not a very like an indie sport, but to me it was.
Hey, now it's up and coming.
It's up and coming.
Ride that wave.
The fastest growing sport in America, so says every YouTube video about pickleball.
Named after pickles, definitely. It's the fastest growing one. Named after
like from Rugrats or.
I'm just saying named after any type of pickle.
Okay. Yeah.
It is the fastest growing.
Oh, you mean like the dill sort of, the ones that come in the sandwiches. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, there are not many other sports that are named after pickles that I can think of.
And then, we need one more, right?
I mean, we'll say the fantasy football ones.
Yeah. Oh, well, there is also, that's not really the cooking podcast. It's more of a show than a podcast, is it?
Visual, I feel like a cooking one's not
it could be like a charade situation and being like, okay, so then, you're just going to knead the dough just like this. And then it's more of like an interpretation sort of thing.
As the podcast I listen to, or I listen to Levitard podcast a lot, and there's this guy on there who will always shout, theater of the mind, whenever he's acting out stuff, but everyone's all like, no one can see you. He just shouts, theater of the mind. All right. You turn a unique phrase a fair amount at the office as well. I'd give you a high unique phrases of interest score if that were a thing like a fantasy language league or something.
Gotcha.
The one coming to mind right now is bag of worms. Are those intentional, or are they accidental and then you just roll with it? Or are they just things that younger people say and I'm just old?
So I am known in my other circles of having things called Scottisms, which are phrases that only I insist on using, and then I just say it enough times that I hope the rest of my friend group says it, and then therefore becomes cool. Still trying to get low-key high C orange off the ground. That one has been a long-term project.
I was going to say, that one's a bit long to.
Yeah, I think
get
that's
off.
we're still workshopping that. I would say it's definitely half my dyslexia and half of just rolling with it. And usually I'll just be rambling on about something and then I'll say it. And I'm like, that sounds cool. I'll just say that ad nauseum until.
That's my thing now. That's mine.
But I could have always sworn it was bag of worms. But now that I remember that it's can of worms, I'm like, that makes a lot more sense because you can't. I mean, you can open a bag, but like at the same time though, if it's already in the bag, it's pretty contained, but not as contained as like a can. But if you
can't close as well. I think that's the key.
Yeah, I guess that would be the hard part because you can just retie a bag.
I do kind of like bag of worms though. It's grown on me a little bit. And
it sounds better.
I've almost started correcting people, and then it's one of those things where you start doing it ironically, and then you start doing it for real, and it's like, damn it, where am I in that stage?
Yeah, if the English can get scheduled, then I feel like I should get bag of worms. I feel like that's just a balance.
That's fair. All right.
Hixigan.
Sorry to any of our English viewers or listeners.
We mean it with love, 100%.
Yes. What's something that you'd like to talk about, but I don't know about because I've done a poor job of stalking you in preparation for this interview.
Something that...
Like, apparently I didn't know you were a radio guy for several years.
Yeah. I'd have to probably say, I think I may have told you, but I'm pretty into board games. We probably have like 50 at the apartment. I'm very excited to like be that guy. Like when I have the house, there's like, oh, this is like the tabletop room, and you get one of those like fancy ones you would see online on like DUI Reddit, and people are like, wow, I can't believe you did it. And they have like the compilation of them doing it for like 6 months. I want to be that guy that has like the really cool like setup. But we have like board game nights probably about every 2 weeks or so. And there's definitely some games that I'm more competitive on than others. Like Settlers of Catan is like, if we're playing that, we're not playing for fun. Like I've watched like, national level, of course, YouTube. I've watched them. And it's like, oh yeah, they live stream nationals. And then they have obviously like personalities for it. And they're like, okay, these are like, here's the strategies. And then literally I would watch videos of people like, they would just randomly rearrange the board, and then they'd be like, okay, which are the best? You pick out everyone's settlements using like best practices, and you do like, okay, these are the ones, and then you'd be like, okay, now that you've done pausing it, here's what I think, and you're like, oh, I missed this. Oh yeah, I should have thought about that because if I put my settlement, so definitely some games like that, and Monopoly, but I feel like Monopoly in of itself, you kind of have to, because no one wants to be that guy who gets absolutely bankrupt, and then you have to be like, be the first one out, and you're like, okay, guys, well, you have fun for the next 3 hours. I'm gonna go to Cinemark, go watch a movie, come back, and then hopefully this will be halfway done by then.
Say incorrect. I absolutely do want to be the person leaving the Monopoly board as soon as possible.
No, but I really do like board games, just all sorts of them, and that's one of the few things that really does like scratch my competitive itch. I don't know why, because I mean they're pretty much children's games, but I don't know. There's
it's a weird thing. You're like, sports, nah, not competitive. No. Board games.
Oh, you better believe I'm going to. I might be salty, but
all right. Well, have fun when you have kids and you're like playing Candyland or Shoots and Ladders. You're like, or it'll be like Shoots and Ladders, and it's pure luck, and you'll be like, keep losing. I can't keep losing. How are you so good at this?
Just gets all the ladders. I just need one ladder. This game is not balanced. Who balanced this game?
All right. Before we get to our next break, do you have any questions for me?
Oh, do I? Here, 1 second.
Oh gosh.
I actually have a couple of questions for you, Brian.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
Sure I get this dramatically on the mic here. So
typically it's one question, but I see you've prepared. So.
Yeah, and I think might try to come up with a secret hidden question on the spot. So one of my favorite ways of kind of asking questions is in the format of over under. One, going back to my addictive personality, which definitely bleeds into through gambling. But for those who don't know, over under, essentially you're given a number and you're supposed to put a bet or what you think, is it going to be over said number or under said number? And most common things like, are they going to score, how many touchdowns are they going to score? Like, the over under is 3. Are they going to score more than 3 or less than 3? So I have a couple of over unders for you, Brian, that I'm genuinely very curious to see your opinions on these sorts of things. And they have a variety of topics.
I'm glad you're asking questions you're actually curious about the answers for. So that's good.
Yes, I just want to, we're very genuine here. All right. The over-under is 11.5. And play at home, by the way. We want to see those in the comments. Ring the bell.
Oh, see, that's why you're the YouTube guy.
Yes. Make sure to type in what you think these answers are.
Remember, that one's not working right now.
Make sure you, Matt. We'll get to that. All right. Over-under is 11.5. The number of games the Dallas Cowboys will win before playoffs. 11.5.
I'm going to say over. I think
take the over.
Yeah, I think it's a longer season these days, and division not great. So,
okay, it's understandable. I think they won like 14 last season.
Yeah.
So you're expecting them to be fairly comparable.
I think they'll be fine.
Okay, you believe in Dak. They got rid of Ezekiel, though. You're not worried about that?
I don't think the Zeke mattered.
They only got Tony Pollard. I mean, they're going to have to draft another running back. I mean, you know this. I know this. I've still been watching.
Pollard's got it.
All right, so we got the over. I'm going to make a mental note of that. Let me write that down. All right, the over-under is 250,000. The number of words you will write /during work before you retire. For reference, the best-selling smash hit novel of 2022, Rivetstone, is approximately 75,000, which fills up over 250 thrilling pages of fast-paced fantasy action and adventure, now on Kindle. That's Rivetstone. 250,000 is the over-under.
I would have to guess over. I really hope that there's no way of tracking this because...
I mean, you can't. All of your stuff is on. You could just combine
say it's all on Google Docs.
All of the Google Docs together.
It would take me so long to find all of it. I don't want to deal with it.
I thought that would be like a fun just to see how many writes you in a quarter, and then you could probably.
I really want to know what my percentage of Google Docs generated within point of rental.
That might be that would have been a good over under. All right, so yet again we got the over. All right. The over-under is 3.5. Your placement in the Point of Rental Fantasy Football League before playoffs start. Now, I don't remember if you won or you came in second or if y'all did a draw.
We did a co-champions because of the whole incident in Buffalo. Okay. Now, when we're saying over, does that mean it will be like I'll be finished first, second, or third?
Yes, Okay. Or fourth and down. So It's almost like, do you think you're going to be top 3 or not? But again, the over-under is 3.5.
I'll say realistically, probably under. I got very lucky last year. None of the people that I wanted were available, so I just ended up with like all of the best players, and it was
Mahomes Kelsey stack was definitely a potent.
Jefferson
was great.
Yeah,
you had Waddle too, didn't you?
Yeah, Waddle was good.
Waddle was a steal.
Yeah,
he's going to go round 2 this year. So
so I had a ridiculously good roster last year. I can't imagine that I will be nearly as lucky next year.
All right. You locked it in at the under. All right. 2 more, Brian. You're doing great.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
I needed to get some type of under. I mean, everyone loves betting overs.
Yeah.
So I had to find an under.
You're a fantastic guest. The over-under is 50. The number of years before the early adopters of USB-esque data ports are installed in people's bodies or heads for functional purposes.
Okay. And just so we're clear, early adopters is... like public early adopters, not some freak in his basement.
Yeah, this isn't like the 2 guys in some lab who just had a crazy night and now has like a freaking, VGA port within their leg. No, this is like...
It's not the upgrade of we took your kidneys and we replaced them.
No, this is like technically you can go out there. Think of like electric vehicles back in like 2021 where it's like, well, they were out there and like some people had a Tesla versus like now you can't see a commercial where it's not. So this is like
or
the early...
Point of parking lot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So this is like, it's technically out, it's still a little like, it's not like, this isn't like Cyberpunk or Star Wars or something like that. Okay. It's still like, it's out there, but it's not like out there.
Okay. I'm going to say I hope over, but I don't know. I see too much enthusiasm about leaping forward into technology that maybe we should think about leaping into before we leap. And I think it might well be under.
Brian, known anti-leaper, and not excited to get
I
go
like-
into the metaverse.
I
but,
like
it's
to look before I
understandable.
leap.
Okay, all right, fair enough. I mean, I'll go hang out with.
I think maybe it's because I like what I have now. Whereas like before, hey, I jump because like,
Yeah, but what if
What-
you
what
have
do I
what you
care?
have now, but now pixelated? Think about that. Think
good
about
point.
that.
Good point.
There you go. All right, you've been doing great so far, Brian. We got the last question for you.
All right, good.
The over/under is 4.5.
Okay.
The number of mats point of rental will hire in the next 10 years.
Oh, people. For a second, I thought you were like welcome mats. Okay.
No, that would be an easy under. I don't know if we have a single one so far.
Okay. Well, you did make it a little trickier. Yeah, based on the last couple of years, I'm gonna have to go over.
Okay, but you're not worried that we've hired every mat within like a general, because there's only so many, and I feel like we have probably about the lion's share at this point.
That's true. I'm thinking about how many mats I knew before coming here, and I don't think it was as many as work here.
Yeah. I only had one, and now I think I know about 17,
Yeah.
give or take.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna stick with my 4.5.
Okay, taking the over.
Or the over. I think we'll get at least 5 in the next 10 years.
That's fair. That's one every 2 years. That's a pretty healthy clip.
Yeah, I think it's illegal to discriminate based on name. No, I think it's just frowned on.
Yeah,
but-
yeah, especially if it's, in the specific mats.
I was just wondering if there's going to be a mat freeze and be like, look, guys, we got too many mats. Like, we need to stop.
Yeah, no, I think that's it. But that's all I had off the top of my head. Just a couple of questions for you, and just wanted to get to know you a little bit more. And so hopefully that worked out. There you go.
All right. Well, thanks. Let's get into the 5 important questions since we're done with those.
5 important questions. 5 important questions? 5 important questions.
What would you say is your greatest success in life?
Oh, geez.
Yeah, we get.
that's like a-
let's take it from jokes to boom.
All right,
real
my
deep, serious
greatest
stuff.
Success in life.
Yeah.
Honestly, I have to say, like it may be something, but I'm just saying, getting this job was honestly like I took a huge risk. I moved in the middle of 2020 to a complete career pivot and know exactly where I was gonna go, and if hopefully I would get a job by the time I move up there, and I run out of money very quickly. But just committing and like sticking to my guns and putting myself out there, and again, just seeing the opportunity in front of me, pulling the trigger, and just being like, all right, they're willing to take a chance on me. Let's do this thing, and the rest is history. So that's definitely one of my prouder moments in general, other than Rivet Stone, which you can still buy on Amazon.
All right, I like that one. There's definitely something to be said for just like, hey, I believe in myself. This is gonna work out.
Yeah,
Just see what happens.
which is good because so far I'm 1 out of 1. If I go for it the second time, you never really,
You're like, I like 100% success rate.
Yeah, I'm officially retired from those sorts of things. So we'll see.
All right. Maybe that gets into the next one. So, what is your greatest fear?
Oh, do we want like a super like serious answer, or just kind of like a general answer?
I want your real answer.
The real answer. Oh, I don't know. It might be kind of sad, but like, so back when I was doing my previous career, doing a lot of fire alarm stuff, one of our more popular industries that we got into was doing this for like retirement homes, these sorts of things. They're huge buildings. Obviously, they need to be inspected, and since they're housing, the elderly, and it's like practically almost like a hospital, and how strict the regulations are. There's a lot that you have to do. It's a very thorough process, and even just getting there and to do maintenance requires a lot of, a lot of red tape, and doing all this like paperwork, and just even getting into there. And you definitely see a lot. And I mean, I've been into millions of college dorms. I've been into, hundreds of hotels all around Texas, just traveling and doing inspections and maintenances. But every time I did like a retirement home, and there's always a few people there where you can tell that no one's kind of really visited that room. There's no one who's really even maybe knows that they're obviously like, the retirement home, the hospital will know that they're there, but like no family does, no really friends do. And, they're probably just like scared, they've had their whole life to really think about like, their last few moments, and there's no one there to really comfort them. Just a bunch of strangers, just a bunch of wheelchair, just a bunch of people like them. And it's kind of horrifying. Just imagine just being just not in your house, just in a completely random place that you were just put there, and that's just it,
Yeah, I was gonna say one of my fears is similar to that one, but it's just like the whole like dealing with Alzheimer's and like not having your memory. It's like, I wonder if it's better or worse to not be aware of where you are in that type of situation.
Yeah. So hopefully I'll be able enough to at least do like a freak skydiving accident, because at least that might make public news,
Yeah, go out in a cool way.
Yeah, or maybe,
or at least like you'd have a really cool view on the way down at least.
Maybe some sort of like Wicker Man situation, because then that would probably also be interesting.
Yeah, hopefully you're not having a situation where I was seeing the reviews for like the 70s version of Wicker Man, which had like great reviews, and then I was like, everyone, we got to go see this movie. And we saw the 2006 or whatever version, and it was weird.
Yeah. I never saw those. I'm coming clean. I've never seen either of the Wicker Men. I was, I'm a changed man since you've kind of shined a light on me on how much I lie about movies I've seen. I've never seen the Wicker Man.
Okay, well that's from my era where I used to watch movies.
Nicolas Cage is in there.
Yep, that's the one I saw.
There's bees in it. I know that much.
Mm-hmm. He does shout bees.
There you go.
That's really all I remember from it, except for it's like many Nicolas Cage movies. Let's say it's like this seems like it was just a way for you to hang out with a bunch of women.
I respect that.
Yeah, it's like, fair, but
you're on your movie star.
All right. If you could tell first day at work, Scott, one piece of advice, what would you tell him?
Probably to talk to more people. I think it surprises people when I'm like, no, I'm fairly introverted. I'm not like, I'm very homebody. I don't really socialize that much. And especially just for me with just dealing with like general anxiety and these sorts of things, it's just that opening up to people and actually getting to know strangers is something that I've constantly struggled with. And what's been great is since everyone is so nice here, it's given me the opportunity to improve on that. So I'll go talk to sales. I'll talk to people in marketing. I'll try my best with the other departments. But, we're getting there. Listen, it's slowly but surely. But, there was definitely a good 6 months, almost a year, where like I didn't really talk to anyone or get to know anyone. I just knew there was this scary tall guy who sat behind me who, whenever I asked him a question, it sounded like the worst mistake I ever made. But, I would just tell him, just like, relax, just talk. Everything's going to be okay. And, that's what we're doing now, and everything's working out. So that's what I would tell first year Scott.
All right. Well, you don't have a chance to you can't go back and talk to him. Just
are you sure?
Yeah.
We can't like send this back and
nope.
Unless we get okay.
Not until the time.
No Back to Future sort. Okay, got it.
Oh, now what's your most embarrassing moment as a pointer?
Oh, most embarrassing. Well, man, I'd have to bust out the banjo for every time I've been embarrassed on something. It's quite a lot, but one of the points that stick with me still is around the beginning part of when I was working here. Obviously, it was during 2020. There was a lot of lockdown things, and I think even now there's a very like some people are in the office, some people are not, and eventually we do like little things, and it's like, okay, it's safe for us to go hang out somewhere at go get pizza or go to. What was it, Dave and Buster's? I was going to say Chuck E. Cheese. I'm like, that's not.
Yeah, go to Chuck E. Cheese.
Well, yeah, what's the normal? Yeah. So you like at Dave and Buster's, and you like talk to these people, and you just be like, you don't know them. You just kind of assume that like, oh, I'd never seen them before. They've probably been around for 6 months like me, and you just kind of like act in a certain way or just like say hi in a particular way, and they're just like, oh, so how long have you been working? He's like, oh yeah, for like 10 years, and it's like, oh, well. Good to meet you. And then what's great is that this carries over year after year after year, where even now, like during our we just had our 41st like birthday party. Some people may see. And so, anyway, we won't get into the social politics of which year.
I was going to say, except also Wayne doesn't want it to be called a birthday party.
What would he prefer?
I don't know, but
all right, 41 Wayne days, years, and that's something that you still run into where you're like, oh, and he's like, oh yeah, no, I've here for like 15 years, and definitely as someone who's now taking the initiative on all the anniversary stuff, it's just like, oh, well, now I've taken these embarrassing moments, and now it's part of my job of being like, hey, I have not really talked to you in the 2.5 years I've been here. You've been here for like 15. My name is Scott. Good to meet you. And it's just like, okay, at least there's now something here that like a mechanism for me to at least like introduce myself and not embarrass every interaction I have with people who I think are new, but have been here since I've even been in Dallas. And it's like, oh, there you go.
That is fun. All right. Well, sorry you've been sentenced to death because not knowing how long a pointer's been here and expecting them to have been here for only a short while is now punishable by death. So what is your last meal?
Ooh, okay. Well, hate to see you go, but it is what it is. So I think it would have to be like the classic Thanksgiving spread. So like you got like your roasted turkey, you got your gravy, mashed potatoes, little biscuits and green beans, and make sure it's like in that plate so you can kind of like mix it all together into like one like slosh of a sandwich that you just kind of bite into.
Okay.
And then a little bit of pumpkin pie at the end. A big pumpkin pie guy. I know this. Everyone at home knows this. I've always been a big pumpkin pie guy. A little bit of whipped cream on top, essential.
Okay. I like that you already went into dessert. Usually I have to prompt people for that. Do you have a drink, a beverage you would like with this final meal?
Well,
I mean, it's your last one. You might as well.
Yeah, I mean, I've been drinking whiskey Cokes for a while. I guess I'll just stick with that. That's a good way to go.
All right. Well, I'm glad you have it thought through. Hopefully you don't actually get put to death, but yeah.
Yeah, you and me both, Brian.
Good. If you could change one thing about yourself, what would it be?
Oh, this is really...
You can only change one thing, though.
You're really starting to sound like my therapist now, Brian. I don't know if I appreciate this.
This is, by the way, this is like a magic wand type situation where it's like you don't have to actually go through the work of changing yourself.
Okay, so if it's like, I wish I was 6 foot even, they could go bippity boppity boo, and I could.
Yeah.
Okay, and this isn't like some sort of genie situation where I'm like, I wish I was 6 foot, and they're like, oh, now you're made out of 6 feet.
Yeah, it's not a monkey paw situation.
Okay, there's no
the genies aren't evil. The monkey paw is cursed.
Okay, all right. If I could change something about myself, I think, there's a lot to choose from. I talk about spoiled for choice. Let's just say I'm definitely very hard on myself. I think I put myself to a fairly high standard, and oftentimes that will bleed externally. So I think, and it's constantly something I'm working on. So if I could, instead of like constantly working on it, and it becomes like this grand thing I can tell people 10 years from now about how I changed, I could just be like, no, I'm just a cool guy now. I think that would be it. I think it'd be good to be a little more reasonable with myself and also on others, these sorts of things. So that would probably be it.
Thank you for providing an example of how you don't have all that confidence in yourself all the time at the very beginning of that. That was very nice.
Yeah, no, and a 6-pack. That would be the other one.
Nice. I was gonna say, I mean, mine was just that I wish I could dunk because like
you can't dunk
just to be able to.
I mean, I feel like if you do this, you're already touching the rim. Don't you got to go on your tippy toes, Brian?
That's how limited my jumping ability.
Notoriously
is.
Much taller in person.
Yeah. Well, All right. If you could change one thing at point of rental, what would it be?
Okay. Has this really only been 5? I feel like there's been more than 5 questions. But
okay.
One thing at point of rental.
Not good at counting.
This is going to be controversial. I'm going to say the brand colors.
Okay. Well, good luck with that.
Yeah. Probably a past Scott would be like, you know what? I bet if I really push for this, because my favorite color is purple. I know this. Everyone at home knows my favorite color is purple.
You and Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah. Oh, really? Oh, yeah. True. Hey, nice deep cut Star Wars reference there, Brian. I like that. maybe it's just because it's like, you see green enough times, that'd be cool. And then we also have like all of our different product colors. But now I guess we're not using red anymore. So I don't know if that's technically a brand color. If we here at the YouTube Pointer Rentals studio can now utilize that as our brand color because that's on brand, maybe. I don't know. But I mean, purple is just a nice techie color. You can use it for gradients. It's great on shirts. You can do it like a bright neon. It can be like dark and like you can use it for like dark mode stuff. And it's great for CTAs. It's great pop color. You can use it in all sorts of things. So no purple.
Well, I like purple as well. Maybe podcast purple is the color.
Ooh, welcome to the podcast purple. Ooh, number 7, podcast about colors.
All right.
No? It'd be like the history of colors. Be like, oh, what's your favorite?
It could be a whole thing.
Like funny
I
hex
feel like it's going to
codes.
have a lot of research involved.
Like maybe there's one hex code that looks like, it's like, oh, it's 80085. Ha 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 ha. That's funny. Like, I mean,
maybe we'll do that as a bit, at least on the front porch.
okay, I'll keep. All right, we'll write that.
And then it can grow into a bigger thing. All right. So what is your spirit spice?
Oh yeah, spirit spice. All right. And we're not talking about like Spice Girls spice, but like
It's however you want to interpret it.
Okay.
I'm hoping that one day someone interprets it as one of the Spice Girls. But
yeah, if I knew any of their names, I would do a bit here. Would be like, well, I'm actually really spiritually connected to pepper spice. Is that one? No, there's no pepper. Red spice.
Ginger would have worked.
Ginger. There, I have a spiritual connection to ginger spice. I think. I don't know. Is this technically a spice? But if you go to like that classic like mom and pop like New York style pizza joint, where you sit down and they have like those tables with the tarps that's got like the red checkerboards, these sorts of like things. And
not a spice, but yes.
You get no. Listen, I'm working towards it. And you got those like big slices of pizza that you can really only fit on one plate, and you're like, oh, I only washed. Like, okay, I'm gonna use 2 hands for this. It's a whole thing. And then on the table, right? So they always have like the one thing for like the little shaky shake Parmesan cheese and those cute little things. Yep. But right next to it, there's those little chili flakes.
Ooh, okay.
Big fan of those chili flakes. I put it in everything: chicken, baked potatoes, pizza. Unsurprisingly, burgers everywhere. It's just so good. You can put it in everything.
All right, I'll allow it. I think it's just red pepper flakes.
Yeah, it's probably just red pepper. And it's nice because it's like, I like it. And it's like, it's a little bit spicy, but it's not that spicy, which I feel like is a good personification. I'm like,
just put that on my business card.
Yeah. Just the right amount of spice.
Okay.
Scott Plomer.
All right.
TM.
Tell me a secret about Point of Rental now.
A secret?
Right now.
Oh, man. There's a lot of snacks that people don't know about.
Well, don't tell other people about that.
Well,
Never mind. Delete that.
I couldn't tell them about the secret club.
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. Okay. Fair.
Yeah.
Fair.
Okay. Password swordfish.
That's not how you don't tell people about things.
Oh, they won't believe me now.
Oh, okay. Good. What is something, whether relating to our software or not, that you could teach a 3 to 5 minute class about?
Well, it's definitely on brand since it is my job, but web design I think would be a good one. We work with a lot of mom and pop stores, and there's a lot of variety in how much they've invested in experience with general design and how they want to present like their e-commerce shop, which is, even if you're not selling things directly on your website, I mean, that's wherever, no, not a lot of, maybe you're reading the yellow pages, you seem to but like, you seem like the type of guy that would read a yellow page.
They don't send them around anymore. If they were on my porch, I'd get them, but.
There you go. On your front porch?
Exactly. Oh, dang
but, it's obviously having a good online presence is key. If someone looks up and your site looks suspicious, no one's going to want to call you. No one's going to want to give you their information, and they're going to move on to the next person who actually did decide to invest into it. So I think there's a lot of little things that just anyone can really do. It's just educating them and letting them know, like, hey, you just need to move X, Y, and Z, and it's going to look 90% better. Like it's a lot of the little things really add up when it comes to these sorts of things.
All right, cool. Well, that was it. I think it seems like something you'd be excited. My normal follow-up is, what would you be excited to teach a 3 to 5 minute class about?
Fantasy football.
It's going to be a weird class, but okay. Well, thank you, Scott, for chatting today, and to anyone who made it to this point with us. Thanks for listening, and See you on the next episode of Front Porch. Oh, we'll leave the light on for you. What? Dang it, I don't know.
Oh.
Jules wrote this one.
Hey, Brian, thanks for having me.
We'll keep the porch light burning for you. That was the actual official ending. So,
Okay.
yeah, we'll keep the porch light burning for you. Thanks for dropping by.
Thanks for having me, Brian. You can just edit this in.
Yep.
We can wave to the camera. Bye. Like, comment, subscribe, ring that bell, post down in the subscription. What was your favorite moment of the podcast? Make sure to leave a timestamp and let me know. Will the Cowboys actually win 12 games? I got the under. Just letting you know, I got the under. Their offensive coordinator was literally like, we want to score less points this year. We need to give our defense a break.